those that would have been affected, I think we're looking at, of course, more than 1,000 casualties, deaths, most of which are in Indonesia. The rest spread out over Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and Malaysia. And it seems to be continuing. We're looking at more than, I think, 20 million people that have been directly and or indirectly affected. And we're looking at about more than 3 million people being displaced in all these countries.
Hello everyone, welcome to APARC Briefing. My name is Kiyoteru Tsutsui and I'm the Director of the Asia-Pacific Research Center here at Stanford University. And at APARC Briefing, we cover important topics and ongoing events and news in Asia. And today we will talk about devastating floods that are affecting South Asia, Southeast Asia, in that region. And to talk about that, we have a wonderful guest, Gita Wirjawan here. Gita, he is currently a visiting scholar at School's Precourt Institute, and prior to that he was with us at APARC for a couple of years as a visiting scholar at Shorenstein Asia-Pacific Research Center. He is a former investment banker, a former minister of trade in Indonesia, and he's done a lot of different things since then. He is a film and music producer. He is a very influential podcaster, with a show called Endgame, in which I appeared as well. And he's an author who published the most recent book, What It Takes, Southeast Asia from Periphery to Core of Global Consciousness. So welcome to APARC Briefing.
Thank you so much, Kiyo. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for being with us. Some of us have heard about what's happening in Southeast Asia and South Asia with this really tragic, devastating torrential rain and its aftermath. Perhaps we can start with your brief overview of what's happening there right now and what is the mood, what is the response to this natural disaster in Indonesia and Southeast Asia overall.
Well, I think it's a continuation of, and also amplification of what's been happening in recent years. Two things. The first one is really a combination of the usual monsoon seasons combined with the La Nina. That's going to, I think, prevail until a good part of the 2026 year. And this has been somewhat exacerbated by another natural phenomenon being pushed by the unusual Indian Ocean dipole, which in combination with, the Senyar cyclone in Southeast Asia, all these forces have produced unusually higher moisture. Of course, rise of temperature, and particularly in the eastern parts of Southeast Asia, predominantly in the Malacca Strait and Sumatra Island, the eastern part of Indonesia, the rise of temperature of 1 degree entails about a rise of 7% in moisture. And this has, permeated into much of the land of not only Sumatra and Malaysia, but also Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines. So in terms of those that would have been affected, I think we're looking at, of course, more than 1,000 casualties, deaths, most of which are in Indonesia. The rest spread out over Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and Malaysia. And it seems to be continuing. We're looking at more than, I think, 20 million people that have been directly and or indirectly affected. And we're looking at about more than 3 million people being displaced in all these countries. Just to give you an illustration, I think in a town in Songkhla province in Thailand, in one day the rainfall would have been more than 300 millimeters, which is highly unusual, and of course unusually higher than whatever they've experienced in the last few decades. In Vietnam, in one little town, they experienced more than 1 meter of rainfall. So this has affected those that perhaps would not have done the two necessary things. The first is, of course, the weather forecasting capability, which I think needs to be accompanied with better technological innovation. But the second really is the community preparedness, which was not to the level that it could have been or it should have been. And I'm of the belief that I think every member of the community, including those in the government at the regional and at the local and also at the central levels in all these countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines, they're doing their best to, remedy the prevailing situation.
So just to recap, the latest news I heard is more than 1,300 people killed in that region overall, more than 700 in Indonesia alone. And as you said, tens of millions of people being affected. And within Indonesia alone, there's more than 1 million being displaced. And our heart goes out to all those people who are affected. So what are the challenges that rescue workers are facing as they try to, and before that, so the rains have more or less stopped at the moment, right? The cyclones and typhoons, they stopped more or less. So now it's the government and other NGOs' turn to try to rescue people from the floods.
I think what makes the situation worse than anticipated is the pre-existing moisture within the earth or the land that makes it more vulnerable on the back of the flowing of the water, in spite of the fact that the rainfall has stopped, because the water is mobile. It moves from one place to another, and it moves into a much more moist place that makes it more vulnerable. Not to mention that many of these places are not easily accessible for rescue, operations purposes. That I think has, resulted in a highly unfortunate, circumstance in many places, not just in Indonesia, but I think in many parts of Southeast Asia.
And even with the rescue being more or less done for a couple of weeks or so, I think the delivery of goods after that, or even during that time, in terms of gas, I already hear about gas shortage, water, clean water shortage, and food. What is the situation with those deliveries of important goods?
Well, again, I think the logistical capability is good in places where access is easy, but in certain remote areas, the access is not as easy. We're talking about beyond last mile. And this is something that we have experienced in the past. Just to recall, in the latter part of 2004, Boxing Day, we suffered from the great tsunami in Aceh. And Aceh is, again, the impacted area, one of the most highly impacted areas in Indonesia by way of the floods. And we're dealing with, I think, very, very remote areas that are not as easily accessible for logistical purposes. But I know the Red Cross locally and internationally, the government agencies, the local community leaderships, they're doing everything that they could to deploy whatever. But water, as you aptly pointed out, is the most, I think, essential for these community members.
And so just going back to the causes of these devastating floods, and you already touched on the climate change aspect of it, and climate change fingerprints are really all over this. And so there's certainly a man-made aspect of this natural disaster. And in addition to that, in terms of urban planning side of things,
Right.
civil engineering side of things, there are various different factors in play for this. Drainage capacity, rainwater management, but also early warning systems that were infamously non-existent in 2001 that you mentioned, that tsunami. But it seems to be a little bit better today. But can you say a little bit more about what could have prevented this disaster from becoming this bad?
I think on the early warning system capability or the weather forecasting capability, I think we've gotten much better
so I heard.
than 2004 on the back of course, a much more alert community and government sites, and also on the back of technological innovation that's been supported internally and also from outside. But I think what has happened is at an unprecedented level on the back of these two natural forces that are colliding, La Nina and this Indian cyclone dipole, which have caused just unusually, out of the ordinary situation from a climate standpoint. Now, that's the first in terms of weather forecasting and early warning system. But on the preparedness, I think this is what we could have done a little bit better. And I'm sympathetic to what everybody has done, but I think going forward, I think in terms of the community preparedness with respect to potential natural disasters needs to be up, lifted, including drainage, including canals, including just how to deal with this higher intensity and higher frequency type of natural disasters. And that, I think, is something that I think the community and all stakeholders need to work on going forward.
Yeah, and on the point of higher frequency of these natural disasters, we were just in Manila together a couple of weeks ago, and we were kind of going through the typhoons there, and that was just twice in a matter of week, I think, right?
Correct.
And so in the region, these types of devastating floods, typhoons, hurricanes, cyclones, they seem to be becoming a new normal. And all the preparedness efforts that you mentioned are becoming critically important. So what is the role of the government of each country, as well as ASEAN as a whole, or United Nations more broadly? What should happen next week to address this frequent happenings?
Well, from the government standpoint, by the way, with respect to the Philippines, they go through about 20 typhoons in a year. I don't think the frequency will rise extraordinarily, but the intensity of each one of these cyclones or typhoons has risen and will continue to increase. That's something I think that the community in the Philippines, including all stakeholders, government and non-government, will have to, be more prepared for. Now, dealing with this, it depends on, again, economically, the size of the fiscal space, right? So I think governments all across Southeast Asia need to be mindful of allocating more resources, fiscally speaking, for something that they should better anticipate going forward in terms of natural disasters. Now, in terms of multilateralizing this thing, communication has been undertaken by each one of the governments in the affected areas, affected countries, with respect to all the multilateral institutions. It's not just the UN, but it's the Red Cross and all these other philanthropy organizations. But again, the delivery of the logistical support depends on the terrain, and the terrain can be much more inaccessible as anticipated. I think that's part of the reason that's causing the delay in getting the support to the very last mile.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that this moment serves as a reminder for all of us about the importance of disaster resilient, climate change resilient infrastructure building. And toward that end, I hope that we as an international community, not just affected countries, should move forward and think about what we can do.
Yeah, but this also underlines the importance of how we need to decarbonize going forward, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, developing economies are shackled
Yeah.
by the imperative of carbonizing, because carbon is a lot cheaper than non-carbon for energizing purposes. And this relates back to many of our other conversations where renewable energy, as noble as it is, it's not as affordable as it should be for most of the developing economies around the world. So I think a solution or resolution needs to be thought of for purposes of bridging between the purchasing power of the developing economies and the pricing point of much of this renewable energy, which will certainly help most of humanity decarbonize going forward. And that, I think, will help in mitigating, if not reducing, the pre-existing warming or global warming situation.
Critically important issue, what you call the sustainability paradox.
Right.
And for more on that, you should take a look at this book, What It Takes. Great. Thank you so much, Gita, for joining us and
Kiyo.
sharing your knowledge and expertise on this topic. Very important
Thanks.
topic. Unfortunately, that will keep coming back, I'm afraid. Thank you for joining us for this episode of APARC Briefing. See you next time.